Hello, this is Kate Jones with the Gale Hill Radio Hour, here to present the second of two excerpts from a longer interview with Marilyn Moss Rockefeller, author of Mountain Girl, From Barefoot to Boardroom. In this segment, Marilyn describes how she saved a company with virtually no business experience, and also talks about the importance of trust, tolerance, and empathy in the workplace.
You and your family moved to Maine, where you chopped wood, spun wool, did what was in front of you, including taking over the business in an attempt to turn the company around. Please talk about this turning point in your life as you described it in your book.
Yes. Well, I had been helping Bill with bookkeeping and even doing some of the illustrations and some of the photography work in his company. It was a design company. And when we moved to Maine, he decided that he wanted to start manufacturing the products instead of just designing and licensing them to all these other companies to make them and market them. He said, I'd like to keep the design the way I designed it and the integrity in the product, which sounded great. And I said, well, by that time I was weaving, and I had taken a class with Peter Collingwood, who's an English rug weaver, and had my Cranbrook 8-harness loom, so I was making rugs with very intricate designs and on commission. So I was enjoying it and raising the two children, and I had sheep and on the farm and a big, huge garden, and I liked my life. And I told him I didn't want any part to do with the company. I didn't want any part in it. And he got my stepfather to invest $20,000 along with another man, $20,000, to sort of start buying used sewing machines and equipment and set up the company with a friend of his. And the money was gone within a few weeks. And they had no more money, and my father had lost some of his savings, my stepfather. And he said, Marilyn, you get in there and turn this company around, because I've got to have my investment back. Your mother and I are retired, and I can't afford to lose that money.
Wow.
So I had to step forward and go and run a manufacturing business, of which I knew absolutely nothing about manufacturing and very little about business. And so I just rolled up my sleeves, and as my real father had said, you can do it. You just have to do it. And the whole thing was, well, I might have to pretend sometimes and to get by with learning. And this whole thing of fake it until you make it, I turned it into fake it until you learn how to do it.
Right.
And if you can, and I was successful at that, it does work. It doesn't mean I didn't make a lot of mistakes, and I did a lot of trial and error of learning, but I also took risks, and I used my intuition on how to do things. And I think women, when they have to take over something or they have to do something, it's amazing the strength that we can pull from down deep. And as my father said, do it.
Right. And you, again, relied on your values. You had
Yes.
You treated the employees very well. You had an open door policy. You allowed employees to be, quote unquote, seen for who they were. You gave them loans when needed. You helped workers who were struggling with domestic violence. It's really incredible what you did. You went in there and you were human too. instead of putting a shield around yourself because you didn't know what you were doing, instead you reached out to them.
Yeah, I never called myself a manager. I said I'm a leader. And what I tried to do was to listen, to really listen well and listen to the employees and trust them, trust an employee. And in turn, they will trust you. And in doing this, I created a very loyal workforce. And that's how we became successful. But I really did believe that each individual possessed worth and dignity. And we had no tolerance for intolerance. And we all agreed on that. And we just worked at using those values that I had. And as it turns out, most people have them, given the chance, that they want to care and they want to be proud of their product and what they do. They want to be treated with respect and caring and given an opportunity and a chance to be as big as there and as successful as they can.
Yes.
So it was a good learning thing for all of us. And as a result, as I said, I had a very loyal workforce, and absenteeism went down, and people were rushing to apply because word got around town, and that, employees were treated very well, and we worked together, and I was an open door policy, and I particularly paid attention to domestic violence because most of my employees were women, and I think also women leaders, if given the chance, we have probably more a leadership ability with empathy. And I think empathy is so important. So when I would notice that one of my employees, black eye or bruised arm, I would inquire and I would care and I would introduce the organization New Hope for Women, and I'd also get them into safe places, safe haven places, and pay for a motel, if anything, to get them away from an abusive situation.
Yes.
So, that really resonates with the employees, and they take that back to their family and their community. And, it just to me is a way of growing and making real social change.
Mountain Girl is available directly from the publisher, Island Port Press in Yarmouth, Maine, and on Amazon, Kindle, and at your local bookstore. In the first excerpt, in case you missed it, Marilyn talks about where she acquired her can-do attitude and how she learned to live by her values, which contributed immeasurably to her success in business. This is Kate Jones. Thank you for listening to the Gale Hill Radio Hour. Please share Marilyn's Mountain Girl adventures with anyone who aspires to great heights.